Ivan Tsarevich, the Grey Wolf, and the Firebird. Once upon a time in a kingdom far, far away lived Tsar Damien and his three sons, Peter Tsarevich, Vasily Tsarevich, and Ivan Tsarevich. Tsar Damien had a beautiful garden. It was the finest in the whole world. There were many beautiful trees, but the one he loved most was the apple tree that bore golden apples. He was very proud of these apples, and he used to count them up every morning. One summer, Tsar Damien realized that someone was stealing his apples. Every night, the finest, ripest, and most beautiful apple on the tree would disappear. No one knew where it had gone, and no one could catch the thief. Every morning the Tsar counted one less apple than there was the day before. Every day he grew sadder and sadder. He didn't want to eat or drink or even sleep. In the end, he called his three sons and said to them, "Listen, sons, I want you to each stand guard by the tree. Whoever of you catches the thief shall reign over half of my kingdom while I'm alive and inherit the rest when I die." First it was the turn of Peter Tsarevich. For hours and hours he walked up and down the garden. Then he sat down beneath the tree and fell fast asleep. In the morning he woke up and counted the apples. There was one missing. Soon his father came out. "Well, my son, what have you got to say for yourself? Did you see anything?" "No, your Majesty, I didn't see anything at all, but one of the apples has vanished." The Tsar felt even sadder. He just hoped his other sons would do better. Next it was the turn of Vasily Tsarevich. He went out at dusk and sat beneath the tree. He watched very carefully in case anything moved in the bushes. And then, in the middle of the night, he fell fast asleep. In the morning there was one less apple. "Good morning," said the Tsar. "How was it? Did you see anything?" "I don't understand, your Majesty. I was on watch all night. I didn't close my eyes for a second, but one of the apples has vanished." The Tsar sighed. On the third evening it was the turn of Ivan Tsarevich. He paced up and down the garden, up and down, up and down. He was afraid of falling asleep, and he didn't stop for even a minute. After 3 hours, he could hardly keep his eyes open. He had to rub them with dew. In the small hours something glimmered in the distance. A light flew through the air. The whole garden grew as bright as day. It was the Firebird. It perched on the tree and pecked at one of the apples. Ivan Tsarevich crept along the ground, leapt into the air, and grabbed it by the tail. The Firebird was too strong for him, though. It flew off into the forest, leaving one tail feather behind in his hand. That morning Ivan Tsarevich went straight up to the Tsar, told him what had happened, and showed him the feather. The Tsar felt better straight away, even if the thief was still at large. He took the feather and hid it in his room. After that the Firebird never came back, and the Tsar began eating and drinking and sleeping again. Some evenings, though, he used to sit alone in his room and gaze at the feather for hours on end. It shone as bright as 1,000 candles. In the end, he decided he'd send his two eldest sons to go and catch the Firebird. He called them to his room. "Listen, sons, I want you to saddle your finest horses. Ride out into the world and catch me the Firebird. I'm afraid it will come back and start stealing my apples again. Peter and Vasily bowed to him, saddled their horses, put on their armor, and rode off. Ivan began begging the Tsar to let him go too. He was the youngest son, and the Tsar wanted to keep him at home. In the end, though, he begged and begged for so long that the Tsar had to give in. Ivan Tsarevich leapt into the saddle and rode off. I've no idea how long he rode. You can tell a story in no time, but it's another matter to live one. In the end, though, he came to a stone pillar where 3 roads met. On it was written, "If you ride straight on, you will grow cold and hungry. If you turn to the right, you will live, but your horse will die. If you turn to the left, you will be killed, but your horse will live." Ivan Tsarevich thought for a long time. Then he turned right. He wanted to live. He rode on all that day and all the next day. On the 3rd day, he came to a dark forest. Suddenly, a gray wolf sprang out from the bushes and leapt at his horse. Before Ivan had time to draw his sword, the wolf tore his horse in half and vanished. Ivan Tsarevich didn't know what to do. He knew he'd never find the Firebird on foot. He walked all day and all the next day. On the 3rd day, he sat down on an old tree stump. He was worn out and he was hungry. Then he looked up and saw the gray wolf. "What's the matter, Ivan Tsarevich? Why are you hanging your head like that?" "Because I'm sad, Gray Wolf. I'll never finish my journey on foot." "You read what it said on the pillar. You chose the road. Still, I feel sorry for you. Where are you going?" "My father, the Tsar, sent me to catch the Firebird, who stole his golden apples." "Well," said the wolf, "you wouldn't have got there on horseback in 1,000 years. I'm the only one who knows where the Firebird lives." "You'd do best to ride on my back. Hold tight. I was the one who killed your horse. Now I'll be your faithful servant." Ivan Tsarevich sat on the wolf's back. The wolf leapt forward and they were off. With each stride, the wolf cleared a mountain or valley. I don't know how long they rode, but in the time they came to a high wall. The wolf stopped and said to Ivan Tsarevich, "Here you are, Ivan Tsarevich. Climb over the wall and you'll come to a garden. In the garden you will find the Firebird in a golden cage. There are guards all around, but they're asleep. Take the Firebird, but whatever you do, don't try to steal the cage. If you do, you'll be in trouble." Ivan Tsarevich climbed over the wall and saw the Firebird. He opened the cage door and took it out. He was about to climb back when he thought, "Why did I take the bird out of its cage? I'll never be able to carry it like this. And the cage is studded with diamonds." He forgot all about what the wolf had said, turned back and picked up the cage. At once there was a ringing and a thundering all over the garden. The guards sprang to their feet, handcuffed Ivan Tsarevich, and took him straight to their master, Tsar Afron. "Where are you from? What do you do? What's your name? Who is your father?" asked Tsar Afron. "My name is Ivan Tsarevich, and I'm the son of Tsar Damyan. Your Firebird kept visiting our garden and stealing my father's apples. In the end, he sent me to catch the Firebird and bring it back to him." "Ivan Tsarevich," said Tsar Afron, You could have come openly and asked me for the Firebird. Then I'd have given it to you or maybe exchanged it for something. As it is, I could send my messengers to every corner of the earth, to every kingdom, and let everyone know that Ivan Tsarevich is a thief." Tsar Afron paused for a moment. Then he went on. "But listen now. If you're willing to do me a favor, I'll pardon you. I'll even give you the Firebird as a gift. I want you to ride to the other end of the earth, beyond the thrice ninth land in the thrice 10th kingdom, and fetch me the Tsar Kushman's horse with the golden mane." Ivan Tsarevich nodded his head and walked sadly back. He told Grey Wolf what had happened. "Ivan Tsarevich," said the wolf, "why didn't you listen to me? I told you there'd be trouble if you took the cage." "I'm sorry," answered Ivan. "Forgive me, Grey Wolf." "Very well," said the Grey Wolf. "Sit on my back, hold tight, and I'll take you where you have to go." Ivan Tsarevich sat on the wolf's back. The wolf leapt forward, and they were off. With each stride the wolf cleared a whole mountain or valley. I don't know how long they rode, but in time they came to Tsar Kushman's kingdom. The wolf stopped in front of the white stone walls of the Tsar's stables and said, "Here you are. Climb over the wall, take the horse with the golden mane, and be off. But take care, and whatever you do, don't touch the golden bridle. If you do, you are in trouble." Ivan Tsarevich climbed over the stone wall and crept into the stable. The guards were all asleep. He took the horse by the mane. He was just leading him out when he saw the golden bridle. "I can't leave the bridle behind," he said to himself. He went back for it. Just as he touched it, the whole stable began to ring and thunder. The guards woke up, seized Ivan Tsarevich, and took him straight to Tsar Kushman. "Where are you from? What do you do? What's your name? Who's your father?" asked Tsar Kushman. "My name is Ivan Tsarevich, and I am the son of Tsar Damian." "Ivan Tsarevich," said Tsar Kushman. "Who'd have thought it? Is this how a prince behaves? You could have come openly and asked me for the horse with the golden mane. I've had given it to you out of the respect I have for your father. As it is, I could send my messages to every corner of the earth, to every kingdom, and let everyone know that Ivan Tsarevich is a thief." Tsar Kushman paused for a moment. Then he went on. "But listen now. If you're willing to do me a favor, I'll pardon you. I'll even give you the horse with the golden mane as a gift. I want you to ride to the other end of the earth, beyond the thrice ninth land, to the thrice 10th kingdom, and fetch me Elena the Beautiful, the daughter of Tsar Dalmat." Ivan Tsarevich nodded his head and walked back. He was crying. He told the Grey Wolf what had happened. "Ivan Tsarevich," said the Grey Wolf, "why don't you listen to me? Why did you have to touch the golden bridle? It's me, the Grey Wolf, who has to do all the work. You just put your foot in it." "I'm sorry," answered Ivan. "Forgive me once more, Grey Wolf." "Very well," said the Grey Wolf. "In for a penny, in for a pound. Sit on my back, hold tight, and we'll try to find Elena the Beautiful." Ivan Tsarevich sat on the wolf's back. The wolf leapt forward, and they were off. With each stride they cleared a whole mountain or valley. I don't know how long they rode, but in time they came to Tsar Dalmat's kingdom. The grey wolf stopped by the golden fence that ran round the garden and said, "Ivan Tsarevich, this time I'm going into the garden myself. Jump down and walk back the way we've just come. Wait for me by the green oak in the field." Ivan Tsarevich did as he was told. The wolf waited till midnight, leapt over the fence, and hid in the bushes. He sat there all day, waiting for Elena the Beautiful. Towards evening she came out for a breath of fresh air. With her was a whole crowd of servants, maids, ladies-in-waiting, all kinds of other attendants. She wandered up and down the garden picking flowers till she came to the bush where the grey wolf was hiding. He leapt out, threw Elena the Beautiful across his back, and was away. He found Ivan Tsarevich by the old oak tree and said, "Get on my back, quick. They'll be after us." Ivan Tsarevich took Elena the Beautiful in his arms and sat on the grey wolf. The wolf leapt forward, and they were off. Back in the palace gardens, all of the servants, maids, ladies-in-waiting, and other attendants were screaming at the top of their voices. The Tsar couldn't make out what happened. When he finally understood, he called all his huntsmen and hounds and galloped off after the wolf. He came back a few hours later, worn out and empty-handed. After a while, Elena the Beautiful opened her eyes again and found she was in the arms of a handsome young warrior, riding on the back of a grey wolf. They could hardly have torn themselves apart if they wanted to. They fell deeply in love. When they came to the kingdom of Tsar Kushman, Ivan Tsarevich began to weep. "What's the matter, Ivan Tsarevich?" asked the grey wolf. "Why are you weeping?" "How can I help weeping? I love Elena the Beautiful. If I part with her, I'll die." The grey wolf looked Ivan Tsarevich in the eye, was silent for a moment, and said, "I've done you many services, Ivan Tsarevich, and I can do you one more. You can pass me off as Elena the Beautiful. I'll jump into the air, stamp against the ground, and turn myself into the princess. Then you must take me to Tsar Kushman, while Elena waits under that tree over there." They put Elena the Beautiful down by the tree. The grey wolf leapt into the air, stamped against the ground, and turned into her spitting image. Ivan Tsarevich walked up to the palace with him. The Tsar was delighted. He had his grooms fetch the horse with the golden mane. He even gave Ivan the golden bridle as well. Ivan Tsarevich mounted the horse and set off. He found Elena the Beautiful and lifted her up into his arms. They rode off together towards the kingdom of Tsar Afron. Meanwhile, Tsar Kushman prepared to celebrate his splendid wedding. His oak tables were laden with flagons of mead and huge trays of Eastern delicacies. The guests sat down and began toasting the bride and bridegroom, shouting, "Bitter, bitter!" This was the moment for Tsar Kushman to kiss the bride and make the bitter wine sweet. He leant over towards her, but instead of the soft lips of Elena the Beautiful, he found he was kissing the hairy muzzle of the grey wolf. He jumped back and let out a terrible scream. The grey wolf jumped out of the window, and that was that. The grey wolf caught up with Ivan Tsarevich and Elena the Beautiful and said, "You get on my back, Ivan Tsarevich. Let the princess ride on the horse with the golden mane." Ivan Tsarevich did as the wolf said. They rode off. Just before they came to the kingdom of Tsar Afron, Ivan began looking sad again. "What's the matter, Ivan Tsarevich?" asked the grey wolf. "Why are you hanging your head like that?" Because of the horse with the golden mane, I don't want to give it away in exchange for the Firebird. But if I don't, Tsar Afron will spread slanders about me everywhere. Don't worry, Ivan Tsarevich, I can do that one too. Didn't I promise to be your faithful servant? I'll turn myself into a horse with a golden mane, and you can give me away to the Tsar. They hid Elena the Beautiful and the horse in the woods. The gray wolf leapt into the air, stamped against the ground, and became a horse with a golden mane. Ivan Tsarevich jumped onto his back and rode to Tsar Afron's palace. The Tsar met Ivan Tsarevich, took him by the hand, and led him into his chambers. He wanted him to stay and eat bread and salt, but Ivan was in a hurry to get back to Elena the Beautiful. The Tsar gave him the Firebird together with its golden cage. Ivan walked into the wood, took the cage in one arm and Elena the Beautiful in the other, mounted the horse with the golden mane, and set off. Next morning, Tsar Afron wanted to try out his new horse. He rode into the forest with his huntsmen. A fox leapt out of the bushes. They all galloped after it. Tsar Afron was the only one who could keep up. Suddenly, the huntsman saw the horse with the golden mane stumble and vanish into the air, while a gray wolf leapt out from under the Tsar's legs. The Tsar was thrown so hard he stuck right up to his shoulders in mud. The huntsman galloped up. Somehow or other they dragged the Tsar back to his feet. They wanted to chase the wolf, but they couldn't even find his tracks. The gray wolf soon caught up with Ivan Tsarevich. Ivan got onto his back and they rode on. When they came to the place where the wolf had torn Ivan's horse apart, he stopped and said, "Ivan Tsarevich, this is where I killed your horse, and this is as far as I'm going to take you. Now, I'm no longer your servant." Ivan Tsarevich bowed to the ground before him 3 times. The wolf said, "All right, we're not saying goodbye forever. You'll need me again." "What do you mean?" Ivan Tsarevich thought to himself. "I won't need any more help now." He mounted the horse with the golden mane, sat Elena the Beautiful before him, took the Firebird's golden cage in one hand, and rode on. I don't know how long it took, but in the end he came to the kingdom of Tsar Damien. When he was nearly home, he stopped for a while to rest. Just then his 2 brothers came past. His brothers had been traveling through the country after country, searching for the Firebird. Now they were on their way back, worn out, empty-handed. They saw Ivan fast asleep on the ground. Next to him lay the Firebird, Elena the Beautiful, and the horse with the golden mane. They looked at each other and laughed. "That brother of ours has already made fools of us once. He took the feather from the Firebird's tail when we couldn't even stay awake. Now, look what he's gone and done. I think we should teach him a lesson." They drew their swords and slashed off Ivan's head. Elena the Beautiful woke up. She looked around and began to scream. "We're going to look after you now," said Peter Tsarevich, holding the tip of his sword at her heart. "And you must tell the Tsar that we won you, and that we found the Firebird and the horse with the golden mane." The beautiful princess nearly died of fright, then and there. She promised to do as they said. Then Peter and Vasily drew lots. Vasily Tsarevich won the horse with the golden mane, and Peter Tsarevich won Elena the Beautiful. They sat Elena the Beautiful on the horse with the golden mane, took the Firebird, and set off. Ivan Tsarevich was left in the field. The crows were circling overhead, ready to pick at his bones. Suddenly, the gray wolf appeared. He stretched himself out on the ground and waited. A crow flew down and began to peck at Ivan's breast. With it was a family of nestlings. The wolf sprang forward and seized one in his jaws. The mother begged him to let it go. "Very well," said the gray wolf, "but first he must stay with me for a while. I want you to fly to the other end of the earth, beyond the thrice ninth land to the thrice 10th kingdom, and fetch me the water of life and the water of death. Then you can have him back straight away." The crow flew off. I don't know how long it took, but in the end it came back with the 2 bottles tied to its legs. One was filled with the water of life, and the other was filled with the water of death. The gray wolf took the bottles, tore the nestling in 2, put the 2 halves next to each other, and sprinkled them with the water of death. They grew together. He sprinkled the body with the water of life. The nestling gave a start and shot into the air. After that, the gray wolf placed Ivan's head on his neck and sprinkled it with the water of death. It grew onto his body. He sprinkled Ivan with the water of life. Ivan gave a start and said, "Goodness, I must have been sleeping for ages." "Yes, Ivan Tsarevich, and without me you'd never have woken up. Your brothers came past and cut your head off. Then they took Elena the Beautiful, the Firebird, and the horse with the golden mane and rode back home. Get on my back. We must gallop. Today's the wedding of Elena the Beautiful and Peter Tsarevich." Ivan Tsarevich sat on the wolf's back. The wolf leapt forward and was off. Outside the city gates the wolf stopped and said, "Goodbye, Ivan Tsarevich. We won't see each other again. Quick, there's no time to lose." Ivan Tsarevich walked through the town. Outside the palace there was a huge crowd of brightly dressed people. He asked what was going on. "Today is the wedding of Elena the Beautiful and Peter Tsarevich," they said. Ivan Tsarevich ran into the palace. The servants recognized him and ran to tell the Tsar. Ivan followed. Peter Tsarevich fainted with terror. Elena the Beautiful rushed up and embraced him, then turned to the Tsar and said, "This is the man who won me. He is my bridegroom." Elena told him the whole story. The Tsar had his 2 eldest sons exiled from the kingdom that very minute. Ivan Tsarevich was proclaimed heir to the throne. Ivan and Elena were married that day, and they lived happily together for very many years.